We talked about in previous lectures about what are regular expressions and using them, and we did a bunch of practice stuff. Here's a pattern, what are some strings that match it, and what are some strings that don't. Or actually the real life thing is, hey, I have some concept I want to capture, a bunch of strings I want to be able to identify. Let me build a regular expression that exactly captures those without any false positives, without any false negatives. Now we're going to get a little bit more practical. We're going to talk about actually using regular expressions in a programming language. And basically there's two topics. This video I'm going to talk about how to represent regular expressions, what they look like inside of your program. The next video is going to be examples of calling the function in PHP. It's called regmatch. And the only thing that you'll need to remember in that one is that the library tends to not say, does the string match the pattern? It says, is there inside of the string something that matches the pattern? Okay, so representing regular expressions in different languages. I'm going to start out just by mentioning Java here. And there's how do you do it in Java? It's good object-oriented language. There's some object, there's some representation for regular expressions. And you can go ahead and make one of these objects by calling new pattern. Patterns, I think is Java util pattern, something like that, Java util regex pattern, you can look it up. And you can think of calling the constructor. Whenever you want a regular expression in your program, you make the regular expression, you make that regular expression object, and you pass it to a function that can go ahead and say, hey, give me a regular expression object and a string, and I'll tell you if it matches. Actually, there might be matching might be a method for a regular expression. Might have a regular expression, call its match method, giving a particular string, depending on the language and so on. Yeah, and so that's a good paradigm. So, hey, there are complicated objects. Let's have our own representation as an object. Fine. As a convenience method in Java, a lot of the libraries let you pass in either a regular expression or a string. And if you give it a string, it's overloaded. If you give it a string, it will just call the pattern constructor and then call the other version that really wanted the regular expression object. So yeah, okay. So when you look at actual Java code, they're actually just probably using strings for regular expressions. The one thing you want to worry about is, okay, well, regular expressions, often we need backslashes in regular expressions. And in Java, backslash was kind of special. How do I get a backslash into the middle of a string in Java? I can't just say backslash because that's the beginning of an escape sequence in Java. If I want to get a backslash into a string that I'm going to use to create a regular expression, I need to say backslash in Java. In my string literal, that puts a single backslash into the string, and then I can go ahead and make the regular expression from that string, okay? So if I'm looking for, here's a regular expression A backslash SB, so an A followed by any space, white space, followed by B, probably the Java source code probably uses this as the string literal, A backslash SB. Okay, and yeah, this can now, occasionally now and then you're building regular expressions, and you can really get into regular expression hell when your regular expression wants to match, hey, I want to go ahead and actually match a string that contains a single backslash inside of it. Well, what's a regular expression that can match a single backslash? Well, backslashes are special for regular expressions, so back in our previous lecture, you'll say, hey, I use backslash if I want to match a string that contains a backslash, okay? Well, how do I get backslash into my regular expression? Well, I need to go say backslash in my Java source code. That turns into a string containing two backslashes. I'll make a regular expression out of that. And that will be a regular expression that will match a single backslash. Whew, okay. So yeah, we just so you know, it happens. If you see regular expressions with groups of 4 backslashes in a row, that's not too uncommon. And especially if you're looking for like the root volume of a Windows disk, C:\\/ or something like that. Oh my goodness, then you'll have 8 backslashes in your source code. But, okay. Anyway, that's Java. There's an object for it, but as a convenience, a lot of methods that want a pattern object will let you pass in a string and it will make the pattern object out of it. JavaScript. Okay, I chose this one next. We're not going to be dealing with regular expressions in JavaScript until another week or two, but it's kind of interesting. They say we'll have regular expressions as, instead of using quote marks that use around strings, we'll have slash characters. Wait, sorry, I'm reversed on video. Slash characters. A forward slash. Look right there at the notes. If you want to go ahead and make a regular expression, A followed by backslash S followed by B, you can do that. You don't need to double up the backslash because we have this new way of writing regular expression literals. Instead of putting quote marks like you would for a string literal, you put slashes, which makes a regular expression object. And you can't use regular expressions and strings interchangeably, neither in Java nor in JavaScript, except that as a convenience, Java methods sort of massage that over for you. Yeah, I kind of like the fact that JavaScript has this literal syntax for regular expressions baked into the language, baked into the syntax of the language. Now, I should note that there actually is a class, regexp, in JavaScript. And it's a class with all its methods. And all it is that the language says, hey, if I see these backslash literals in my source code, I'm going to go and call the constructor at compile time. So, okay. Great, and I'll throw out there, because you'll see it around in different situations, and different languages have different ways of doing this. What if you want to match a pattern, but you don't care about case? That's actually a pretty common situation. Some languages support regular expressions where after the regular expression you follow it with the letter I, okay, for case independent. And that's what JavaScript does. So in JavaScript you might see things like that as well. I'm not going to talk further about the different modifiers that you put after a regular expression. That doesn't work. You can't do that in Java. There is no after the regular expression in Java. So you have to do something different in Java. I'm sure they have a way of doing it. I don't know what it is off the top of my head to make case independent expressions. Okay, so we saw Java, we've seen JavaScript. Python. Python doesn't have any notion of regular expression built into the language, like Java. So you might say, okay, it's like Java, I'll have to use strings, then might descend into backslash hell sometimes, or just have a lot of, even if there's not backslash hell, you just have a lot of double backslashes in your strings to create the regular expressions you want, and it's kind of annoying. So Python doesn't have regular expression literals, but it has a much more broad, more general idea of string literals that are raw, we call them raw strings, okay? So, and in Python, you do that by putting the letter R right before your string. So an R followed by a double quote, double quote, gives you a raw string. In raw strings, backslash n doesn't mean a new line character, it means a backslash character followed by a new line character. Okay, that's cool. Python, I think, is my favorite out of all the languages I'll mention here for actually using regular expressions. Because I just use the raw strings. Since they're built into the language, I'm using raw strings in other situations. I didn't have to learn anything new. Yeah. Okay, PHP. PHP, like, well, wait a minute. In PHP, we have double quoted strings, which are, you do things like backslash n is escaped into a new line character. But we have single quoted strings in PHP. So that should be just as cool as Python. You should love it, right? Yeah, I should. They do exactly. When I'm writing regular expressions in PHP, I tend to use my strings with single quotes, so I don't have to double up the backslash, because if you have a backslash and a single quoted PHP string, it's just a backslash character, which is what I want for my regular expressions. Okay. But then PHP, in addition to having saying, hey, well, for regular expressions we'll have strings, but we want to realize that strings and regular expressions are kind of like different types, which JavaScript makes really clear. Here's what we'll do. We'll use strings, but we will ask you to begin and end your string with a slash character. And all the libraries that use regular expressions, you'll just give them a regular old string, but the library will check that string, and if it doesn't begin or end with a slash character, it will say, well, this is not a valid PHP regular expression. So now they took a nice idea from Python and just managed to do something that sucks all the fun out of it or something. I don't know. Okay, so, and you might wonder in PHP, well, what if I have a regular expression that wants to contain a slash in the middle of it? Wouldn't a slash end that regular expression? Yeah, it might. I'm not quite sure. It turns out you can go ahead and you don't have to use slash. You can use a different, almost any punctuation character will work. You can look up exactly what you can use. But okay. So yeah, that's basically it. I'm going to throw in one more, one of language I prefer using, Racket. Racket it does have a way of saying, hey, I have a regular expression literal that's different from a string literal, and I can pass around regular expressions and not pass around strings. And I like that approach because the type checker now can catch errors, right? I can get a type error saying, hey, I was expecting a regular expression and you give me a string, or vice versa maybe. Again, that's a little bit subverted the moment that for convenience you let your functions also take in a string. But okay, anyway, Racket, like Java, like JavaScript, unlike Python, unlike PHP, has regular expressions, literals, built into the language. The thing I don't like about Racket's version is that they treat any escape sequences the same way for strings as they would for regular expression literals, which I can see the rationale. They're like, hey, let's just be uniform. Everything that's string-like, we're going to have the escape characters work the same way. Okay, but I specifically, for regular expression, I specifically want something where I don't need to put in extra backslashes. So it's not too, I get the type checking, but I don't get the convenience of actually writing them with fewer backslashes. And now the last language I'll mention, HTML, which, wait, that's not a programming language. It's a data representation format. Oh, well, yeah, it sort of gets muddled since browsers take your HTML and take chunks of it and will treat it as JavaScript code perhaps, or as with HTML5, there are actually ways to put regular expressions. You can have input tags, and you can have an attribute, usually the pattern attribute, and you can give them a regular expression. This works pretty well because their backslashes are never an issue in HTML. Backslash means nothing special to HTML like it does to Java or JavaScript or Python or PHP. So backslash is never special in HTML, so you can go ahead and if you you want to have an attribute that happens to be a regular expression, yeah, just put that in there. But just like any attribute, put it between single ticks and you can do that. Wait a minute, what if you have a single tick that you want to be part of your regular expression? Oh, well, we can use double, I can put my attribute in double quotes, and then, okay. Oh, what if I have a regular expression that contains a single quote and a double quote? Then I can't use single quotes, or I can't use double quotes or single quotes in HTML. Well, okay, we still have an HTML solution. We have those at the special character entities, ampersand QUOT for quote, and APOS for apostrophe. So, and I think I mentioned that somewhere. Yeah, except I didn't type that wrong. They got rendered like this. I'll fix that in the notes. Okay, so that's just representing regular expressions in your language. For this class, take away that, hey, I'm using PHP. I'm going to use a string where I begin and end with a slash character. Okay. In other languages, Java or Python, realize, hey, there's slightly different ways of doing it, and some work better in practice than others. Which I guess is like life, right?